Yeah, even if you have even a little bit of help to offer, you should offer the help.
You're listening to the Dare to Be Different podcast, a podcast for people who want to live an extraordinary life. Your host is Joe Altieri, professional Duck Duck Goose player and the king of Monopoly. Joe took his Monopoly skills to build multiple successful businesses. On this week's episode, Joe and his wife Alisha talk about why it's so important to put your airplane oxygen mask on first before helping others. Enjoy.
Welcome to the Dare to Be Different podcast. This is an impromptu session of the podcast. No notes, no real prep. As a matter of fact, we just had to kick our dogs out of the studio, but we're going to have some fun here today. Hi, Alisha. How are you?
Hi, I'm good.
That's good. As always, well, actually not as always, we're going to have some special guests, but today, as it has been since the beginning so far, my special guest is my amazing wife, Alisha. Thank you so much for putting up with me and joining me on the podcast again today.
Sure.
So we travel an awful lot. I travel an awful lot. And one thing that I was thinking about today was the fact that when they do the little spiel, at the beginning, like these are the exit rows and all of that, they talk about the mask coming out. First of all,
on the airplane,
on
not
the
in
airplane.
your car.
Yes, on an airplane, not in the car. No, I don't have that. That would be a lot of fun though. Like
sometimes it might be necessary if you need to
True.
get out in a hurry.
But first of all, you don't have to pay attention to that anymore. It used to be you'd have to turn off all of your devices, look up. They wanted to see, like now you can still be working on your iPad or something like that. They don't even require you to turn that stuff off, which is interesting. But the thing that always struck me was when they talk about the mask coming down, they always say, put the mask on yourself first. And then if somebody next to you, a child or something like that needs help, then you can help them. And I thought that was, from the perspective of, that happening on an airplane, I get it, I understand it. But isn't that also applicable to us as well? So one of our values is the fact that we need to be healthy. And again, we said, that's not just physical. Physical is of course important, but you have spiritual, mentally healthy, relationally, all of those types of things. And we have to be healthy before we can actually lead other people or we can help other people be healthy. Do you think that's true?
It is. Even doesn't even matter which aspect you're talking about in all the aspects, whether it is spiritual, physical, mental, all those different ways. If you're not healthy yourself, you can't really be available to help other people through any challenges that they may be facing in any of those areas of their life either.
Yeah, it's really hard. I've seen people, use, a pitcher of water or a bucket of water or a glass of water to talk about leadership as, if your glass of water isn't full, it's really hard to empty out into someone else. But if you're constantly filling it up with water, all of that overflow, can go out to other people. And I think about it because, our staff at our companies, is growing and our influence is growing, and how important it is for us to be healthy, again, mainly mentally and relationally healthy, or what we're overflowing into other people becomes almost poisonous. And what do you see that we do that helps us to stay healthy so that we can pour out onto, and into the lives of people like Nicholas, who is here adjusting cameras, and as we talk about pouring out leadership into him? What are some of the things that we do?
That would probably be a whole nother podcast with Nicholas as being our special guest of all the wonderful ways we've helped him through his life to shape him and form him into the awesome man he is today. But I think, pick a part of it, which one do you want to talk about, the mentally or physically or spiritually, helping someone out? If it's as far as like how do we help pour into Nicholas or whoever, whoever
we'll
it
use
might
Nicholas
be.
as an example.
Yeah, well, It's
Nicholas
easy.
needs a lot of help. So
No. Well, again, a whole nother podcast. But I don't know. I think that you need to take care of yourself, like you said, first. So even in any of those areas. So say it was, health wise, like he's struggling with, staying active or whatever, which he's not. But if it was, I can't sit on the couch all day and, eat junk food and whatever, let myself go and go, you know what you need to do? You need to go out and power walk. Really,
yes,
just
Nicholas,
do
get
it
up on
every
the
day.
freaking treadmill,
Yeah.
puppy butt.
Get off your butt, But, you have to be able to do those things to say, hey, I've experienced that whenever I went through that situation or something similar to it. Life experiences of someone older pouring into someone younger. Not that we're old people, but, we've
definitely
lived
older
a
than
lot,
the staff that we have.
lot more life than, those of, that surround us at this point at Flex Screen. And Reflex Brands, of course. But, life experience a lot of times, and just the stories that you are able to tell as you age, whenever I went through something similar to what you're going through, this is what I learned. This is what, I took away from it. These are the challenges that I went through myself going through, whatever example it might be.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I find myself challenged almost on a daily basis because I do think that it's important for us to help the people that we work with and that we are ultimately leading. So I find this challenge where I want to read more. So I've started reading more leadership books and more development books. And that was Nicholas making noise in the background there. But, so really digging into some of the people that have been there, done that before us, that have put out content, that have done things to help us, again, not directly, but indirectly through reading and listening to really better ourselves. But that's a journey. Like, that's not something like, oh, I read this book and now I've got it. I have it under control. I know everything. It seems like it's just a constant, you almost have to stay up on it. And, as soon as I slow down with the reading, I go, okay, well, I'm not going to, read anything this week. No, it's not a decision that I make, but just life gets in the way. I can tell that I'm not as effective if I don't continue pouring into myself. I'm not as effective pouring into other people.
Right. I mean, I think that even if you took it to a different level of, say it was your mental health or whatever. Mm-hmm. So if you're struggling with something and you're going through, a rough patch in life, which, happens all the time. We've had, several rough patches, but getting back to, if you don't take care of yourself, you can't pour into someone else very effectively. I mean, you still can try, but it's not going to be, your best effort or whatever, because you're struggling yourself. You're going through some things. That might look like, hey, you need to go to some therapy for a while and talk your issues out, and meet up with friends that maybe are good listeners or different things like that, or meet up with someone that is a little bit older than you, that's lived a little bit more life, that has those stories that they've gone through similar struggles, or what did they do? You see them coming through things successfully and coming out on the other side a little bit healthier or better than, or living a similar path that you want to emulate. Like, I know they went through this same similar thing. How did you get through it? And
or
reflecting,
even the fact that they did get through it sometimes.
Or that they did.
Great.
Yeah. And just to know that there's hope, but to also, do whatever you can at that point in your life to help yourself be healthier, so that in turn you can help other people's, because that ultimately adds to your stories of, well, whenever I went through struggles, I reached out to someone older, I went to therapy, whatever it is that helped you through, even your mental health part, when you were struggling through different hard times in life, whatever you did to cope, to help yourself, then you can in turn help others, which is really what, I don't know, means a lot to me, is to be able to help people around me going through struggles.
Absolutely. I mean,
So.
the other thing on top of, filling yourself up, I know of a couple people that come to mind where they listen to, people, they read the books and all that stuff, but they don't have anybody that they're actually pouring into, and they just become, like this vessel that is just constantly being filled up, but they're not putting it out. And it just seems like a waste.
It really does.
There's always somebody that is in a situation that could use some advice, even if we don't think that we're qualified. More than likely we are, and maybe in just a little way.
Yeah, even if you have even a little bit of help to offer, you should offer the help. Sometimes it's people that do that sort of thinking and that sort of, lifestyle where it's all about themselves, or, learning as much as they can, or, being as healthy as they can possibly be, but never actually surrounding themselves with other people. It can lead you to a very lonely life, and not really as fulfilled as I think life's designed to be.
Right. Like, I know all of these things, and, but no one else is up to my qualifications or standards. So therefore I'm just going to sit in my basement and know things. Like, seems like an awful boring life.
Yeah. If you know all the things and you don't do anything with them, then so what, know? I mean, ultimately that sounds a little bit rude, but really, so what? Like, if you're not going to do anything with it.
So I guess the point of today's podcast is if you want to help people,
help them.
Fill yourself up, get the ammunition to be able to help them, so that you're overflowing from the things that are pouring into you, and then help them. Put your mask on first, and then don't just sit there while somebody else is suffocating, then help them with their mask.
Right. It's not about the perfect, scenario that you want to put out there. Like, well, I've always had everything figured out. I've never gone through hard times. By telling your, well, I had this hard time that I went through. I struggled with this. It was really hard. It sucked a lot of the time, and this is where, I felt like it was the worst thing ever. But, somehow you came through it. You can share your struggles, your genuine hardships, and the tactics that maybe helped you. Some examples, it doesn't make you less of a person to reveal your, humanness. It's actually makes you more relatable to other people.
Absolutely.
Because we're not, promised to never have a hard time in life. Those things happen.
No, and as a matter of fact, somebody had said to me just yesterday, they said, "Is your life really as good as you claim it is on the podcast?" And I said,
wow.
Of course not. Of course we have challenges. And
yes.
So we're actually going to talk about in the future all of the failures that we've had over the last, several years as the business has been growing, before it started growing, and all of the challenges and things like that. That's going to be a lot of fun, talking about how bad I was at everything as we're on this journey.
That might be like a part 1, 2, and 3
yeah,
kind of thing.
It's definitely going to be a multi-series, but so anyway, thank you so much. It's all the time. Please, if you know somebody that could use this podcast, that could use a little pick-me-up, that maybe needs to fill themselves up so that they can help some other people, share this with them. Make sure you subscribe. And we love you. We thank you so much for listening to us every couple days. And there's going to be another one coming really, really soon. So thank you so much for listening. Have a good one.